In the Monday, November 17th episode of Beyond the Gates, Bill and Jacob find themselves in trouble, while Leslie's involvement in Winterfest triggers a wave of mixed reactions, and Kat turns to an unexpected source for guidance. Key points: Bill and Jacob's post-double date conversation ends with a serious warning. Danny and Andre make a major honeymoon investment that deepens their bond. Kat seeks unexpected guidance just as her relationship reaches a breaking point. Leslie's role at Winterfest immediately stirs controversy among her old friends. Is Fairmont Crest truly a symbol of safety and power, or just a gilded cage packed with unspeakable secrets? Among all these intertwined relationships, who is the most skilled liar? Who is the one being unintentionally hurt? And who is quietly pulling the strings from the shadows? Come find out with us, and thank you for staying along for the ride. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like so we have the motivation to bring you even more videos. After what seemed like a harmless double date, the atmosphere at Fairmont Crest turns thick in a way that's hard to explain. To outsiders, it was just a dinner between two married couples trying to rebuild the rhythm of their marriages. A gentle gesture of reconciliation after months of tension. But once the wine glasses were empty and the restaurant's soft lights faded, what remained in each person's chest was imbalance, suspicion, and a sense of being insulted that no one quite dared to call by its name. Bill returns home with heavy steps, trying to convince himself that he is only protecting his daughter, protecting Naomi from the kind of hurt he has seen far too much of in his life. Yet the truth runs deeper than that because he himself feels threatened. Not because Jacob is stronger than he is, but because the younger man is standing exactly where Bill once stood, right at that dangerous intersection of duty, desire, and disastrous decisions. Jacob secretly bringing up HEYLEY'S birth control prescription strikes a twisted fear inside Bill. The fear of being seen for who he truly is, of having the moral boundaries he tests every day ripped wide open for everyone to judge. The chill in Naomi and Jacob's marriage is not something Bill has just discovered. It is something he has been silently observing for a long time. The casual, half-hearted brushes of their hands, the polite questions at dinner that have taken the place of intimacy a young married couple should naturally share. All of it leaves him both anxious and angry. Deep down, Bill doesn't just blame Jacob. He also feels that Naomi is slipping away from the path he mapped out for her. A stable marriage, a secured future, a life that does not repeat someone else's mistakes, especially his. So when he faces Jacob, the warning he delivers is more than just a boundary between father-in-law and son-in-law. It is a punch meant to reassert control. He forbids Jacob from meddling in his situation with HEYLEY, even though he knows perfectly well that his entanglement with HEYLEY is exactly what has begun to strip him of the right to demand respect from anyone. At the same time, he growls that if Naomi is hurt one more time, he will personally deal with Jacob, as if Jacob were the only one holding a knife to her life. In that moment, Bill fails to realize that he is turning the man Naomi chose as her partner into a small child under his thumb, pushing Jacob into a corner where there are only two options left: bow his head or fight back. Jacob walks away from that confrontation with his pride in shreds. The guilt of having mentioned HEYLEY'S birth control to Bill mixes with the humiliation of being treated as someone who might hurt Naomi at any moment. He understands that in Bill's eyes, every crack in the marriage begins with Jacob, while in reality, the truth is far more complicated. Naomi has slowly shut him out, as if her heart now lives in a place Jacob can never reach, and he no longer dares to ask why. Instead of talking things through, they avoid each other by burying themselves in their routines. She throws herself into cases and he hides in investment work. Jacob went to Bill not to, but into the older man's private business with HEYLEY, but because on some unconscious level he wanted a father figure to explain how to hold together a marriage that is crumbling. What he received instead was an invisible slap to his pride. The quiet flame of rebellion inside him starts to burn hotter. He wants to run to Naomi and repeat every word Bill used to belittle him, to tell her how her stepfather painted him as the enemy in his own home. Yet at the same time, the fear of placing even more pressure on Naomi, of forcing her into the middle yet again. makes him stop short. If he tells her, will Naomi rage at Bill for crossing the line, or will she be disappointed in Jacob for dragging her into a brutal choice between her husband and her father? That question circles endlessly in his mind, turning every step Jacob takes through their luxurious house into something strangely lost and hollow. Naomi senses the undercurrent long before it explodes. From the tight look in Jacob's eyes as he steps into the house, from Bill's colder-than-usual tone when he calls her, she knows something happened after that double date. But Naomi is exhausted from constantly having to guess what is going on inside the two most important men in her life. She feels like a bridge that is rotting away because too many feet have trampled back and forth over it. In Bill's eyes, she will always be the daughter who must be protected from a husband who might hurt her. In Jacob's eyes, she is the wife who must ceaselessly prove that her loyalty does not lean too far toward her own family. The frost Bill senses in Naomi's marriage is not only the result of marital conflict. It is also the shield she has built to protect herself from being torn apart any further. She no longer wants to share every thought with Jacob, because whenever she opens up about the Duprees, it ends in an argument. She no longer wants to confide too much in Bill either, because every word she speaks becomes a weapon he uses to attack Jacob. Caught in that tug of war, Naomi starts to question whether this marriage is truly her choice, or just another piece in the life blueprint Bill has always silently laid out for her. That thought fills her with guilt and anger, all at once, especially when she realizes how much she has sacrificed, only to receive suspicion from all sides in return. While emotional storms are quietly detonating at Fairmont Crest, in Los Angeles, Danny and Andre are wrapping themselves in the glossy surface of a glamorous honeymoon. Instead of taking endless sweet photos on the beach or basking in candlelit dinners like most newlyweds, they are sitting in front of investment plans, watching rows of numbers appear on a screen like a strange symphony. On the surface, choosing a major investment to mark their marriage is a practical decision, proof that they are a couple who think long-term, who want to bind their futures together with shared assets. But deep inside, it is their way of soothing themselves. For Danny, the investment is proof that she is no longer just a woman who lives off her image, her modeling past, and the shadow of Bill. She wants to see her name on the contract in the ownership structure of a project big enough that everyone in the family will have to admit this marriage is no impulse. She wants Andre to be an equal partner, not a man riding on the coattails of her old relationship with Bill and Anita's influence. But that very desire turns the honeymoon gift into a kind of secret test. Is Andre truly ready to put his money, his reputation, and even his freedom on the line in the same gamble as hers? Andre understands that pressure better than anyone. He knows he entered Danny's life when her wounds with Bill were not fully healed, and he feels the measuring looks of the family on him. For him, this investment is not just a chance to make a profit. It is a formal passport that will give him a solid place within the complex power structure around the Duprees. He chooses a project just close enough to Fairmont Crest, just tied enough to the community that Anita will take notice, and just within a sphere Bill cannot completely ignore, perhaps a development fund, an event-focused real estate chain, or the backstage infrastructure for major festivals like Winterfest. Andre calculates every detail, knowing that one misstep could brand him an opportunist. But if he succeeds, he will no longer just be Danny's husband, but a man others are forced to negotiate with as an equal. Yet beneath those numbers, Andre is hiding a truth. Past debts, risky investments that didn't pan out, traces on his financial record he does not want Danny to see. He needs this deal to work not only to secure his position, but to save himself from having his past laid bare. Every time Danny talks about their shared vision, something tightens inside him, because he knows there are parts of himself that will never quite fit into any shared vision. While financial calculations are being wrapped in a romantic veneer in Los Angeles, Kat is sitting in a drab, suffocating DMV office, facing the chaos she herself has fanned into flames. She has come to take care of what should be purely technical matters, paperwork, demerit points, a rehabilitation program after the incident she caused. But even in the waiting area, Kat feels like every pair of eyes is judging her. Not just for past mistakes, but for the stories that have spread about her attitude, her stubborn refusal to accept anything that has to do with Eva. For Kat, accepting Eva is not simply accepting another woman in her father's life. It is surrendering to the feeling of being replaced. She clings to the belief that she is the center of Ted's world, the only one truly worthy of being protected, while every other woman is just a passing guest. Eva's arrival, her refusal to vanish over time, and her slowly growing place in the family all make Kat feel like she is being pushed to the sidelines in a house built on her father's achievements. She fights back by sabotaging things, by acting reckless and defiant, by making decisions that hurt herself as much as anyone else. The unexpected source of guidance Kat turns to is not a therapist or a relative, but someone who stands on the line between two worlds, someone who belongs to Fairmont Crest and yet is kept on its outskirts, Leslie. Their encounter may begin as a coincidence, a brief, chilly exchange outside the DMV, but it quickly morphs into a dangerous kind of connection. Leslie sees in Kat a younger version of herself, stubborn, convinced of her own righteousness, yet left behind in the wake of decisions made by others. Leslie knows exactly what it feels like to be treated by Anita or Nicole as a variable to be managed, the same way Kat feels about Eva's place in Ted's life. Instead of advising Kat to calm down and compromise, Leslie subtly presses on the younger woman's weak spots, planting the idea that if Kat doesn't protect her place herself, no one will do it for her. Her guidance is not built on moral lessons, but on stories from the dark side, about who always wins in power games, about how the soft-hearted are always the ones sacrificed. From there, Kat starts to view everything through the lens of conspiracy. She no longer just wants to show that Eva is dangerous. She wants to prove that if anyone deserves Ted's approval, it is the one willing to fight to the bitter end, even if that means shattering the fragile peace around them. Within this larger picture, Leslie's deeper return via Winterfest is turning the community event into a stage for hidden battles. Anita and Nicole are not blind to Leslie's divisive nature, but instead of enduring more sabotage from the outside, they choose to pull her into their plan. They think that if Leslie is given an official role, a share of authority, her destructive energy will be redirected into making the event a success. But that decision carries a quiet cruelty. Anita and Nicole need a pawn in case things go sideways. If Winterfest is a success, they will be the ones standing proudly at the front, talking about unity and community vision. If something goes wrong, they already have a name with enough bad history to take the fall. Leslie, her old friends, the ones who once saw her change the atmosphere of a room with just a crooked smile, all feel uneasy. They know that once Leslie has a stage again, she won't be content with creating a few ripples. She will churn the whole surface, dragging up things many people thought were buried for good. Anita and Nicole's decision to use Leslie is not just a strategy for managing trouble. It is also a defensive move against other secrets teetering on the edge of exposure. Winterfest is not merely a winter festival. It is where Fairmont Crest performs the polished image it wants the outside world to see. Any scandal that erupts there could topple the very foundation of reputation Anita has built with her singing career and charity work, bringing down with it the investment ventures Danny and Andre are putting together, the legal cases Naomi is handling, and even future political campaigns Martin dreams about. In that context, Leslie is both shield and ticking time bomb. Anita and Nicole are playing a mental chess game, using Leslie to cover the cracks in their family wall, while simultaneously preparing to sacrifice her if public pressure becomes too intense. What they fail to calculate is that Leslie is no longer the woman willing to stand in the line of fire for anyone. She knows exactly how the Duprees operate, and if cornered, she is more than capable of dragging a few others down with her. The threads that seem so separate, Fairmont Crest, Los Angeles, the DMV, Winterfest, are actually winding tightly around one another in secret. The investment Danny and Andre are making may be marketed as a funding milestone for Winterfest, turning them into the new faces of innovation in the community, and that means any Financial failure will be tied directly to Anita's name. The tension between Bill and Jacob will not stay confined to the family. If Jacob tries to prove his worth through deals linked to Andre's project, one small mistake could pull Naomi into a storm of lawsuits and scandal. Under Leslie's influence, Kat might choose Winterfest itself as the stage for her rebellion, tearing apart the image of a polished, obedient younger generation that Anita loves to flaunt in the media. And Leslie, granted authority but denied trust, can exploit every crack to force those who once looked down on her to finally face the darkness they've tried to hide. As the days of preparation for Winterfest go by, each character slowly realizes they are being pushed closer to a dangerous edge. Bill must choose between continuing to control his daughter's life with a rage that's always ready to explode, or facing the truth that he may be a greater threat to Naomi's marriage than anyone else. Jacob must decide whether to silently swallow the humiliation to keep the peace, or stand up for his dignity and risk showing Naomi a version of her husband she may not be sure she loves. Naomi has to ask herself if she will go on serving as the bridge between men who keep tearing at her from both sides, or break that role apart and build a life of her own, even if it means disappointing Bill. Danny and Andre must confront the possibility that their honeymoon investment gift could turn into a rope tightening around both of them, exposing their financial secrets and old wounds. Kat must choose between beginning the hard work of healing, accepting that Eva may be flawed but not necessarily the enemy, or continuing to obey the whispers of her hurt and becoming the saboteur of her own future. Anita and Nicole must be ready to pay the price for treating people like chess pieces, because Leslie is no longer a sacrificial pawn but a new player prepared to flip the entire board. In the luxurious yet fissured world of Fairmont Crest, no one stands in a truly safe place anymore. Every warning, every investment, every decision that seems small on the surface could be the spark tossed into a powder keg built from years of conflict, jealousy, resentment, and unnamed ambition. And once that spark catches, it won't be just one person who pays the price. The whole system they have worked so hard to construct, from family reputation and business partnerships to private alliances, could collapse within a single festive season, a single family dinner, or a single chance encounter in some seemingly trivial place like the DMV. When everyone believes they are fighting to protect what is rightfully theirs, that is precisely when schemes, betrayals, and choices made in the darkest corners of the soul find their way to the surface, pushing them toward extreme reactions that, once set in motion, leave no path back.